Juana Barraza is a Mexican former professional wrestler and serial killer. Her mother was an alcoholic and traded Juana for a man at a young age. She was abused by this man. Barraza's crime series became known for her murders, especially against older women. She did not target them for their wealth or valuables, but to vent her anger at her mother. She often entered the homes of elderly women, pretending to be a servant, and strangled them to death. The series of murders that started in 1990 ended in 2006 when she was caught by the Mexican police with 48 murders. Dorothea Puente often targeted elderly and mentally disabled tenants. She killed her victims by overdosing them with drugs and then buried their bodies in the backyard of her home. In total, she was found to have killed 9 people. When Puente's house was excavated as a result of a police investigation, bodies were found buried in the backyard. AILEEN WUORNOS spent much of her life homeless, hitchhiking along roadsides and providing sexual services to clients. Between 1989 and 1990, WUORNOS killed 7 men she encountered while hitchhiking. She committed the murders with firearms, typically shooting her victims inside their vehicles. WUORNOS was arrested in Florida in 1991. Her girlfriend, Tyria Moore, cooperated with the police, and WUORNOS's confessions were recorded, exposing her crimes. WUORNOS confessed to 7 murders and was sentenced to death for the killings in 1992. On October 9, 2002, WUORNOS was executed by lethal injection in Florida. Before her death, she stated in interviews, Beverley ALLITT was born on the 4th of October 1968 in Lincolnshire, England. ALLITT, a nurse, killed 4 children patients and seriously injured 9 children while working at Grantham and Kesteven Hospital. Following an investigation into the suspicious deaths, ALLITT was arrested and sentenced to 13 life sentences. Judy BUENOANO is an American serial killer, best known for murdering her husband, lover, and son. Husband, James Goodyear. Judy killed her husband, James Goodyear, a Vietnam War veteran, with arsenic poison in 1971. She received money through an insurance policy after her husband's death. Her son, Michael Goodyear. Michael had become physically weakened and wheelchair-bound as a result of a childhood illness. Judy pushed Michael into a canal in Florida in 1980, causing him to drown. Her lover, Bobby Joe Morris. Judy also poisoned her lover, Bobby Joe Morris, with arsenic and received insurance money from his death. Judy BUENOANO's final offense occurred when she tried to kill her lover, John Gentry. John Gentry became ill, but did not die after Judy gave him poison under the name of vitamins. After this incident, the police began to investigate Judy, and links to other murders emerged. The insurance money Judy received after the deaths of her ex-husband James Goodyear and her lover Bobby Joe Morris attracted attention. Judy BUENOANO was executed by electric chair in Florida in 1998. Born in 1955, Katherine Knight is a woman known for committing one of the most horrific murders in Australian history. Knight lived with a man named John Price. Knight was a physically very strong woman and repeatedly beat John Price. Knight stabbed Price to death in his bed on the night of 29 February 2000. After killing John Price, Knight dismembered his body, cooked it, and prepared it for the children to eat. After an evaluation, Knight was found to be mentally competent and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Rosemary West is an English serial killer who, along with her husband Fred West, is believed to have murdered at least 10 people. The couple would kidnap young women, torture them, and then kill them. The house they lived in, 25 Cromwell Street, became a house of horrors where the victims were held, tortured, and buried. Many human remains were found in the basement and garden of the house. The victims were mostly vulnerable young women, including some of the couple's own children. The murders at 25 Cromwell Street remain infamous for the brutality and violence the couple inflicted on their victims. The house was so notorious that it was completely demolished in 1996. Marie Noe was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1928. In 1948, she married Arthur Noe, and the couple soon began to have children. However, one by one, Marie's children began to die tragically. At the time, these deaths were often recognized as sudden infant death syndrome, ASIDs, or other unexplained natural causes. Marie and Arthur Noe had 10 children in total, but 8 of them died in infancy. The authorities then reopened an investigation, and in 1998, Marie Noe was charged with the murder of 8 of her children. Noe confessed to the police that she had strangled her children to death. Noe admitted that she did not remember exactly what she had done at the time of the babies' deaths, but that she heard that she had somehow killed them. Velma Margie Barfield was born on October 29, 1932, in North Carolina. After her first husband's death, Velma remarried, but her second husband, Jennings Barfield, also mysteriously died shortly thereafter. Velma's life became increasingly complicated, and she spiraled into drug addiction. From 1974 onwards, Velma tried to earn money by working as a caretaker. However, she began poisoning the elderly people she cared for with arsenic. One of her first victims was her own mother, Lillian Bullard. Later, the elderly individuals she cared for, John Henry Lee and Record Lee, were also killed by Velma. Shortly after these murders, other victims under Velma's care were also poisoned and killed. After their deaths, Velma would embezzle their money. In 1978, Velma Barfield was found guilty of Stuart Taylor's death and sentenced to death. Belle Gunness's criminal career began with her first husband, Mads Sorensen. Mads died mysteriously in 1900. At the time of his death, he had 2 different life insurance policies, and Belle made a significant amount of money from these insurances. In 1902, she married her second husband, Peter Gunness. Peter died in a tragic accident shortly after their marriage. Belle claimed that a heavy piece of machinery falling on Peter's head caused his accidental death. Belle began placing adverts in local newspapers to keep her farm business going. In these adverts, she was looking for men who could help her. Men who answered the adverts would come to Belle's farm, but most never returned. On 28 April 1908, Belle Gunness's farm burned down completely in a suspicious fire. The body said to be Belle's was shorter than normal and headless. This raised suspicions that Belle was not dead and that she had organized the fire as a fake death plan. Excavations at the farm after the fire found the bodies of many of Belle's victims. At least 12 bodies were recovered from the farm as a result of the investigations. The number of Belle's victims is estimated to be between 25 and 40. Nannie Doss's first murders began in the 1920s. Allegedly, her first victims were 2 of her own children. Later, during the 1940s and 1950s, she murdered 5 of her husbands, her mother, her sister, her children, and even her grandchildren. She killed her victims by poisoning them, often using arsenic, and her victims usually suffered from stomach issues before dying. After being arrested, Nannie Doss coldly confessed to her crimes. During her confessions, she would smile and display mocking behavior, which earned her the nickname Giggling Granny. Wait a minute. Despite having 4 children, Nannie Doss killed 2 of them but did not harm her other 2 children, Melvina Doss and Florine Doss. Why is that? If you have any thoughts, share them in the comments.